All right, guys, taking a look. We're still working on multiplying decimal numbers. So one of the other strategies we talked about was taking our decimal numbers and turning them into fractions, because you guys were rock stars at multiplying fractions. So when we do that, we just read it. This says 3/10. So that's the fraction 3/10 multiplied by 1 and 4/10. So 1 and 4/10. Now from here, you guys know lots of different strategies for doing it. So we could do 3/10 times 1 and 4/10, because you got to remember you have to multiply it by the 1 and the 4/10. So 3/10 times 1 is 3/10, and 3/10 times 4/10 is 3 times 4 is 12, and 10 times 10 is 100. So looking at now, we've got to add those together. So I'm adding 3/10 plus 12 100ths. So 3/10 plus 12 100ths is the same thing as 30 100ths, because I multiplied it by 10 over 10 to get that, plus 12 100ths, which is 42 100ths. Now, we talked about this. Normally, if you start with a decimal number, your answer choices are probably going to be in decimal, and you're probably going to want the answer to end up that way. So we can just change 42 100ths back into it. So I write down this number, 42. If it's 42 100ths, I want the last number in 42 to be in the 100ths place. So that would be 100ths, tenths. The decimal would have to be here for that to work. So there's my 42 hundredths. That's what it looks like. That's the end answer for that. Or I could do something very similar with this problem right here. So taking a look at it, I have 2 and 6/10 times 3 and 25 hundredths. We do the same thing. 2 and 6/10 times 3 and 25 100ths. Okay, now when we're multiplying mixed number times mixed number, you either have to change the whole thing into an improper fraction, or you have to break it apart. So you multiply all four pieces. So you have 2 and 6/10 times 3 and 25 100ths. Okay, now I always, if I'm going to break it apart and not change it into improper fraction, I do the model just so I remember the 2 has to be times the 3, the 2 has to times the fraction times the 3, and the fraction times the fraction, and that does that here. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 25 over 100 is 50 over 100. 3 times 6/10 is 18/10. And then 25 times 6, a little bit harder on that, that'd be 150. And then 100 times 10 is 1,000. So now I'm left with adding 6 plus 50 100ths plus 18/10 plus 150 1,000ths. Now this is why this is a little bit harder, because now I've got a lot of those little pieces that I'm going to have to add together. So I can change all of these into thousandths and add them together. So 50 100ths is the same thing as 500 1,000ths. Okay, 18/10 to turn it into a thousandths, I'm going to turn it into 1,800 over 1,000, because I multiplied the top and bottom by 100 to get there. And 150 over 1,000 was already in thousandths. So then we're adding all those pieces together. So I might do that over here. 1,800, 500, 150, add those, 0, 5, 13, 4, 1, 2,450, 2,450 thousandths. So same thing we did before. Well, we have 6 here too. So let's change this part into a decimal. 2,450 thousandths. I want this number to be in the thousandths. So that's hundredths, tenths. So that's ones. And then we got to remember, I had this 6 here. So add 6 more on, and we end up with 8.450 as my end answer. A lot of work, a lot of steps, but you guys were really good at fractions, so that might be a viable option for you.